My name is Kate, and I am on week 32 and a half of long COVID. And today we are talking all about cognitive dysfunction and long COVID. And I have my computer with me because cognitive dysfunction and remembering things is hard. I want to reference a study right up front. An international study of people with long COVID showed 203 different symptoms across 10 different body systems. More than 88% of the about 4,000 people who were surveyed online reported memory problems and cognitive dysfunction, making these the most persistent and pervasive problem in this cohort. And it was equally common across age groups. And 2/3, about 65%, reported experiencing these symptoms for at least 6 months. So cognitive dysfunction, while there are many other long COVID symptoms, cognitive dysfunction is a big deal for those dealing with long COVID. The most common form of neuro and cognitive dysfunction is brain fog. What is brain fog? It's hard to describe, and there's no sort of like agreed upon scientific medical definition of what brain fog is, but if you have experienced brain fog, you know. All of a sudden, it feels like there is nothing in your brain, like paying attention to any one thing is impossible. You begin sentences that you cannot finish. The words that you are looking for are not there. And as soon as you try to speak, you just sort of zone out. It is the strangest part of long COVID for me, that cognitive dysfunction is such a challenge. There are other forms of neuro and cognitive dysfunction and challenge that can come along with long COVID. Things like nerve pain, tingling, numbness, lack of motor control. But because brain fog is so persistent, and it's one that I haven't heard talked about as much as I would expect, I wanted to bring that to this video today. So I am definitely one of the 88% of folks dealing with brain fog challenges. My brain fog has improved over the course of my long COVID. It was definitely most severe closer to my acute COVID at the beginning of January. And with time, with healing some of the other areas of my long COVID, focusing in on my dysautonomia issues with tachycardia and respiratory muscle weakness, as I've been able to control my tachycardia with medication and improve my respiratory muscle strength with rehab. My overall brain fog has lifted somewhat. I would say I feel most alert and myself that I have since coming down with COVID. That being said, this is something that is still with me and probably will be for a long time. So what does brain fog look like? It's a little bit different for each person, but the most sort of concrete example I can name is, so I serve as an Episcopal priest. I've said the Lord's Prayer many times a day for many years of my life. I have worked with people at the end of end-stage dementia who can't speak, who are not able to answer questions, but as soon as I would start reciting the Lord's Prayer, they would recite it along with me. That is how ingrained it is. And in the middle of my long COVID, I would go to start the Lord's Prayer and there was nothing. There was nothing there. I couldn't remember the beginning, middle, or end. It was gone. As I started with the long COVID clinic and went through cognitive function testing with my occupational therapist, sort of the cause of that became a little bit more clear. I thought that I had a memory issue because I couldn't remember words, I couldn't remember prayers, I couldn't remember names. But what it turned out to be was an attention issue. So my memory testing put me at a solid 92% score, which is pretty good. I scored poorly on remembering faces, but that has always been an issue for me. Meanwhile, my score on attention was abysmal. So I scored less than 1% for my age group with attention, particularly visual attention, sustained attention, and attention with distractions. And oh boy, does that reflect on my lived experience. That as soon as I sort of go to remember something, to pay attention, to begin a task, I just can't focus. I haven't been able to focus well enough to read, to really like engage in in-depth conversation, which is a problem because that is my job. So I've needed a lot of support to heal from this. And for me, the first step of that was getting out of my own dang way, because I had so much shame and embarrassment, and really a crisis of identity around not being able to pay attention the way that I used to. For me, that sense of who am I if I don't feel like myself, if I'm not able to function the way that I used to. And that is worth grieving, absolutely. And I needed to own that this was an issue in order to heal from it. So then I've been doing occupational therapy with a long COVID specialist here in New Hampshire for a few months now. And we've really been focused on two areas for my cognitive function, specifically around the capacity to pay attention, both sort of the internal work and the external work. So the internal work is really sort of focusing on those neural pathways and stretching my capacity over time to focus more and more. And we've been doing that with a great app that I would recommend. Obviously, this is not sponsored, but there's a great app called Luminosity. All of their games and tests are grounded and based in scientific research. And it's really allowed me to tailor focus so that I can really hone in and work on growing my capacity to pay attention and also to switch between tasks, that task flexibility. Can't recommend it enough. It's really been very helpful. And the games are fun. And I like that it's not sort of like a dry, boring workbook, but some well-designed games that maybe I would play anyway. So certainly recommend that. The other piece is that external work, and that's really changing the environment outside of myself to support my inattentive mind. So things like checklists. For example, on Sunday morning, I have a checklist that goes up in my office that walks me through, okay, on a Sunday morning for church, I need to unlock the doors, I need to check in with the readers, I need to make sure that the table is all set for the Eucharist. That really walks me through task by task because I can't remember what I am supposed to do next. You know, I'll sort of wander around the church and be like, well, I know I usually do something right about now, but I have no idea what it is. Or, you know, someone will come up to me when I'm in the middle of a task and then I can't remember what the task was that I was originally doing once that conversation is over. So just having a checklist, a way to go, boom, 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 is really a huge support for me. Also, making sure all the information I need is in one place. So I've really moved from having like Post-it notes all over the place to having my Google Tasks on my phone send me regular reminders of the things that I need to do. So that way it relieves the burden and the pressure from me and my own mind of trying to remember what comes next, but really offers that additional support so that I have fewer things to worry about, because stress certainly doesn't help brain fog. So I'd be curious to hear from all of you. What has your experience of brain fog in long COVID been like? Have you found that it has gotten better or worse over time? And what have you found that helps you, both sort of, you know, in terms of internal work or improving your external environment? I'd be really grateful to learn from you. So from my long COVID journey to yours, from my somewhat inattentive brain, my extremely inattentive brain, to yours, take good care, everybody. I'll see you soon.